Welcome back. It is so good to see you. Now, finally, 2020 is over and we are ready to start a new year. And I am guessing that every single one of you is totally ready for a new year, a fresh start, a new beginning. You've got resolutions lined up. One of those being, this is not going to be 2020 again. With all the things that have plagued us in 2020, from the pandemic to the fires to the exposure of the racial inequity, we have to realize there was an underlying pandemic that struck us this last year, and it affected our mental health. All of these things that we've talked about have been difficult for us to process emotionally and mentally. And there have been so many things bombarding us one after another all year long. And let's not be naive and think that this is somehow just affecting those of us who are adults. Our kids have watched this play out, understanding less of it than we, but seeing the way it has affected us, it has started playing out in their own lives. Children struggling with anxiety, depression, stress, and burden. So this year, as we begin a brand new year, let's not do it blindly. Let's go into this new year talking about what are some good ways that we can take care of ourselves emotionally. And by doing so, train our kids to take care of themselves better. What is the way as disciples that we can raise our children to be better with their mental health? I've invited a special guest to talk about this because this is not my area of expertise. I've actually invited my sister, who has her PhD in clinical psychology, to share a little bit about what are some strategies, what are some mechanisms and things we can do as parents, as disciples, to better take care of our mental health. So I'm excited to introduce you to my sister, Bess Martin, and without further ado, let's get into it.
So I'd say the thing I've seen in the psychotherapy that I've done a lot this year is how, not only with individual clients, but in working with healthcare workers, is how much COVID-19 has changed the way we function this year. And I know that there's a lot of concern that that'll change us forever, but one of the things that I love about the field I work in is recognizing how resilient God made us, that we can overcome a lot. Something that's made this year so difficult is how anxiety-provoking so many things have been. There's just been a lot of turmoil in addition to this pandemic that's been ravaging our country, I suppose, for the last 9 months. And so many of the things that we normally do and learn as families on how to deal with stressful and anxious and worrisome situations, whatever word you find yourself feeling, a lot of those things we learn in families. So that may mean spending time with a friend, or going to your favorite restaurant, or going shopping, retail therapy, right? We all have lots of things that we do that help us feel better when we're stressed and worried. And part of physical distancing and the precautions that we take to stay safe is that they impact those coping strategies, those ways that we usually feel better. And when that gets interrupted, it's kind of hard to know where to turn, right? When you lose the fellowship of church or community, just being able to have friends over for dinner, celebrating special events with family and friends, that takes some of the things that feel joyous away, the things that we look forward to. And it can just really add up in a lot of small ways. And that's something I've seen in myself and the people I interact with this year, is how much all of this living in a constant state of anxiety has an impact on our day-to-day kind of functioning. So stress and anxiety, we like to think of these as incredibly negative things that we want none of in our life. But God gave us all these emotions for a reason, is what I like to think. And that anxiety and fear and stress serve a purpose. They keep us safe. The problem comes in when it's kind of overactive, when we feel stress and anxiety in a safe situation. But think about what happens when you feel threatened or under attack in some way, whether physical or just emotional attack. So your body gets ready by, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of fight or flight response, but we also include freeze and befriend now. So we think of, there's these 4 kind of instinctual ways built into our blueprint that helps us know how to respond in those situations. And in order to prepare for whatever response your body and your family and tradition has trained you to be the best way to escape a dangerous situation, your body gets ready. So your heart rate starts pounding, right? You start taking shallower breaths, adrenaline surging through your body, you're ready. And when that happens, when you're not in a dangerous situation, it can be quite distressing, right? And so I talk about this because sometimes the way we attack our anxiety or the way we help cope with it is by going after those symptoms. So first and foremost, deep belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. If you're ever in choir, I imagine they use it then. They talk about the diaphragm. I was never in choir, so this is all an assumption on my part. But good deep belly breathing for 10 minutes a day for 3 weeks is the best thing you can do, because it builds that neural pathway or habit into the core of your brain, and allows you to use that strategy in the moment you need it, to slow the heart rate, slow the breathing rate, allow you to think more clearly, right? If your heart's beating really fast and you're breathing really shallow, you're not getting good oxygen to your brain, because you don't need that in a moment where you run, but you do need it in a moment where you're not actually in danger and you're just kind of spinning out. So we use a lot of strategies that help us slow down, right? That might be stepping away, stepping outside and going for a walk, or calling a friend, talking to someone you trust. Those kinds of things help shift your focus and help you calm down, right? Retail therapy, it's a good distraction. All of these strategies we use and everybody has strategies they use. We just don't call them coping strategies. That's just something us therapists like. Everybody has things they use. There's coloring books, taking long bubble baths. For some people, it's cleaning their house, washing the dishes. It could be a myriad of things, listening to good calming music. And that might be different music for you than it is your spouse or your kids. What calms people just kind of varies. Soothing scents. All kinds of things help different people in different ways, but a lot of them have to do with kind of having an interaction with your physical senses in a different way, or kind of disrupting that fight or flight response. So when you think about ways to deal with it now, when your usual strategies have been disrupted, it's helpful to look at the things, maybe make a list. I do this a lot of times with people. You can make a list of all the things you do every day that help you feel great about life, right? Washing your face, brushing your teeth, eating good meals, drinking enough water, taking your medication if you have medication. Those are things that you need to do every day, just kind of daily maintenance things. So one first step might be to check in and say, am I missing some steps in my daily maintenance? Maybe if I washed my face and brushed my teeth, I would just feel a little better. Take a little second to do my hair, whatever it may be. Sometimes that that can kind of help get you out of a funk. The next kind of step is to make a list of things that you do above and beyond your daily things when you need to kind of feel calmer or more relaxed. And having that list, and then some of those things can be things you do now, you can still do at home. Some of them may be things that are hard for you to do with physical distancing or limitations that we're imposing on ourselves to help reduce community spread. And so look for themes. Maybe you notice that everything on your list is about distracting yourself. Okay, then how can I do something distracting at home? Maybe it's finding a good book to read or picking up a new hobby. Those are all distracting things that maybe you would have done differently outside the home. But that would be a way to kind of approach that, is look for themes in what you naturally find relaxing. And that might vary from person to person. Well, working with children is not my area of expertise. One of the things that stuck with me in my training, and I think of often when I work with adults, is that when children live through a time or grow up under high stress situations, and most of this research is in rough neighborhoods with a lot of violent crime or war-torn regions. That's what I mean by high stress. And I want to clarify, I'm not sure that COVID is exactly that, but they show that sometimes children in those situations, when survival kind of skills kick in, they develop a poverty of emotion. And so what you see most often is happiness and anger as the emotions that they know the names of and how to express really well. And one of the cool things is the more names we have for our emotions, the better we're able to manage them. And more specific the name you. Because think about it, if you're anxious and you're really nervous or afraid, sometimes you're feeling really heightened, right? Your body's on high alert and you're feeling up here. And the whole point of your strategy, your coping strategy, is to calm yourself down. But sometimes when you're feeling really low and down and sad and depressed, what you want is to pull yourself up. So it makes a difference if you know what you're feeling on what you're going to do to cope with that. Sometimes those strategies overlap, right? Maybe you eat ice cream when you're nervous and you eat ice cream when you're sad. Emotional eating is a real thing. And so you may use some of the same coping strategies. Maybe you want to do something like maybe cleaning your house helps you when you feel sad as well as when you feel worried. Maybe that's a better example to use. But either way, it helps if you can name what you're feeling. It just gives you more ability to feel in control of those emotions, essentially. And so when you're dealing with kids in these trying times, really talking about feelings, and there's lots of feelings games that exist, putting feelings with colors and things like that can make it kind of useful. But also recognizing what coping strategies you have. I always say everybody's got coping strategies and they work until they don't. So kind of deciding what of your coping strategies are helping you and what ones are not helping you. So sometimes we have ways of coping that don't help anymore. And so being thoughtful about how you utilize those and show your children that you're using them, so what they're going to carry with them into their adulthood is learning how to cope from you. They're going to be watching you. They see what you do. They see how you cope. And so the better you understand that, the better they'll understand that and can use those judiciously, those coping strategies.
Thank you so much for that, Bess. And guys, if you have enjoyed this content and would like more content like this, subscribe. Be a part of this community that we're building here. And if you have things that you would like to have answers to, things that you would like for raising your kids, feel free to reach out to me, contact me through email, through Facebook, through the comments here. I would be happy to make a video. And if it's something like this that is outside of my area of expertise, I will find someone who is qualified to make that video. So thank you again, and we'll see you next week. Bye.